The night before the overseas application deadline, our class group chat exploded. "Oh my God, Bruno, why did you change your destination to the UK? Weren't you going to France with Emma?" Bruno replied lazily. "Changed it. Whatever. She has my login info anyway. Once she sees I've changed it, she'll definitely follow. That little tail of mine can't live without me." I stared at my phone, mind blank. Among the scattered luggage on the floor was the gift I'd carefully prepared for Bruno. I exited the group chat, threw the gift away, and never looked at the application form again. He doesn't know. He could give up a future with me for Helen, and I could just as well give up on him and choose my own future. All those long nights of effort were never just for him. Chapter 1. Bruno's words cut like a knife. The school in France was a decision we spent 12 years working toward together. Now he just changed it. Didn't even bother to tell me in person. Someone in the group asked, "But what if Emma doesn't see it? The deadline is tomorrow night at 12. Bruno scoffed. "She checks the site every 10 minutes. Even more than my mom. No way she'd miss it. TSK. You guys wouldn't understand even if I explained." Everyone started hyping him up. Damn. Boss move. Then someone else asked, "But what if Emma doesn't change it? France is actually a better fit for her." Bruno paused, then replied, his tone cold. "Bullshit. Emma has separation anxiety. She once dropped everything to see me just because we didn't meet for a day. If she doesn't follow me this time, it'll be 3 years without seeing each other. To her, I matter more than any school, so she'll definitely choose me." Silence. After a long while, someone asked, cautiously, "Isn't that kinda unfair to Emma? We've all seen how hard she's worked for France. At least tell her." Bruno clicked his tongue in annoyance. "Ugh, don't wanna. You guys know how Emma is. If she finds out I changed it because of Helen, she'll cry, and I'll get another migraine. Better not tell her. Saves me the trouble." The group exploded again. "Well, yeah, Emma's sweet, but Helen's on a whole other level. Lucky bastard." Those careless jokes, they almost crushed me. I really wanted to call him, scream at him, demand answers, but my fingers just wouldn't hit call. In the end, I numbly collapsed into bed, staring blankly into the dark. Chapter 2. Staring at the ceiling. My thoughts began to blur. How can people change this easily? We were the ones who cried into each other's arms while struggling through French classes, and not once did we think about giving up. Every time we felt like we couldn't go on, we'd cheer each other up with pictures of the Eiffel Tower. The day we got our offers, we laughed and cried, believing we were finally heading toward our happy ending. But just as we were about to have it, he suddenly let go of my hand and ran toward someone else. Honestly, I wouldn't have blamed him for changing his plans. But why didn't he tell me? Am I that insignificant in his eyes? If he found me annoying, then what was that late-night promise? When he nervously proposed to me? Was it just the darkness, making it too hard to see who was in front of him? I hugged myself tightly, buried myself in the dark, and cried. The truth is, I don't need him to survive. I don't have separation anxiety. Growing up, whenever we ended up in different classes or schools, he would be the one in a bad mood and only feel better after seeing me. So I kept moving forward, sticking to my plans, and quietly pulled him along with me. Bruno wasn't wrong. I did include him in my vision of the future when it didn't affect my goals. I was willing to invest in what made my heart beat faster, but that didn't mean I'd sacrifice myself endlessly to please him. I closed the application page I'd accidentally opened again, wiped my tears, and never logged into the portal again. He made his choice. I'll hold my ground. From now on, we go our separate ways. I had just washed my face when a video call from Bruno popped up. "Hey, little tail, pick up. I wanna see you." When I didn't answer, he spammed a few more calls, then finally sent a message. "We're all meeting at the usual spot. Come now. Take a cab." But I didn't want to go. Tired, not going out. Right after I sent it, he replied, "Are you sick? I'll come to you." "No, don't." As I frowned and typed the reply, Helen messaged me. I'm sorry. I was the one who begged Bruno to let me come. I didn't know you'd be upset. I'll leave right now. As long as you come, I'll be fine with anything. Ugh. My phone suddenly smelled like green tea perfume. Sickeningly sweet, but fake. Before I could respond, people started at ing me nonstop in the group chat. What's your deal, Emma? Can't stand seeing Bruno with someone else? Being petty has limits. Jealous 'cause Helen's prettier than you? Stop acting like a child. I froze. My first instinct was to explain, until I saw Bruno's message. Emma, I was the one who invited Helen. If you're mad, take it out on me. Why are you giving her a hard time? Whatever. Come or not. We're having more fun without you anyway. Then they bombarded me with pictures of food. Someone even added, food without vinegar tastes so much better. Passive-aggressive psychos. I exited the group chat, deleted Bruno, and blocked him all in one go. He used to be pinned at the top of my chat list, no matter how much we fought. But now, he only belongs in my blocked folder. Chapter 3. Back when Helen first transferred to our school, she was actually my friend. At the time, Bruno even warned me that Helen didn't seem like a good person and told me not to get too close to her. I made a lot of effort to smooth things over between them, but everything changed at the welcome party when Helen took off her tacky black-rimmed glasses and showed up in a stunning red dress. After that, Bruno never told me to stay away from her again. In fact, he and Helen became increasingly close. He even introduced her to his childhood friends and his circle. By the time I realized what was going on, all my friends had already become hers. Bruno treated Helen differently, special. That time, Bruno and I had a huge fight and didn't talk for 3 whole months. I said, if you like Helen, I'll step aside. But Bruno cried and said, you're the one I care about the most. Helen has depression, and she comes from a single-parent family. I just felt sorry for her and wanted to help. I believed him, but he played me like a fool. They kept hanging out more and more. That word friend just became a mask to cover up what they were doing. Now, he even changed his application for Helen, making me look like a total idiot. When I snapped back to reality, it was already dark. I hadn't even noticed my mom had come home. She looked at me and smiled. Had another fight with Bruno? You even blocked him on WeChat. He wants you to add him back. I brushed it off and left the house. Earlier, our advisor had asked us to confirm our applications one last time at school. When I arrived, there was an empty seat next to Bruno. That seat used to be mine, but Helen sat there without hesitation. Bruno didn't say a word, he just naturally took the bag Helen handed him. His eyes briefly flicked toward me, like he was waiting for me to lower my head. Too bad he guessed wrong this time. I turned and sat next to the campus heartthrob, Luis, far away from them. Everyone, double-check your submissions. The portal closes tonight. If you regret it tomorrow, it'll be too late. Our advisor was spitting all over the podium as he spoke. Luis suddenly glanced at my application. What a coincidence. I'm going to France too. Before I could respond, someone tapped me on the shoulder. Emma, don't you have something to say? I ignored him and was about to say something to Luis, but Bruno grabbed my arm and yanked me outside. Emma, are you done yet? Throwing a tantrum and now you're even blocking me? I'm warning you, unblock me now or forget about ever adding me again. I stared at him for a few seconds. Oh, good thing I wasn't planning to add you back anyway. Bruno's face darkened instantly. Fine, don't come crying to me later. I turned to leave, but he suddenly grabbed me again. Eyes serious. The deadline's close. Just double-check your application. Make sure you didn't mess it up. He seemed like he wanted to say more, but Helen walked over right at that moment and cut him off. Bruno, I don't quite get this part. Can you help me? Sure, I'll take a look now. Bruno immediately lowered his head to check Helen's form. I let out a mocking laugh and walked away. By the time he tried to say something else, I was already almost back inside. Emma, remember to double-check. Go over it carefully. Chapter 4. Heh, he really thinks his word is law, doesn't he? He probably assumed that just because he told me to review my application, I'd obediently go check it, then notice he changed his, and follow along like a fool. What a joke. Since he won't say it, I'll pretend not to know either. After all, He thinks comforting me is a huge hassle. I think explaining anything to him is just as much of a pain. Luckily, for once, I've finally seen things clearly. When we got back to the classroom, Luis noticed I didn't look well and insisted on dragging me out to watch a performance. But when it ended, we bumped into Bruno. Looking cold and grim, he stared at Luis, face darkening instantly. I knew he was misunderstanding things, but I didn't feel like clearing it up. I completely treated him like air. Just as we turned the hallway corner, I ran into Bruno again, this time with his friends. Bruno, seriously, tell Emma already. France and the UK aren't exactly next door. If she goes alone, won't you be worried? Bruno snorted dismissively. What happens to her has nothing to do with me. Anyway, she's probably already changed her application. She's just throwing a tantrum. She clings like crazy, can't get rid of her. Annoying as hell. I froze for a second, then came face to face with them. Bruno told someone to take Luis ahead and turned to block me in a corner. Going to a music festival and not inviting me, but inviting someone else? Wow. Look at you now. Little tail, you've got guts. You think this'll get under my skin? He grabbed my hand, voice lazy and mocking. Fine, I'll apologize. I shouldn't have snapped at you the other day. Can we call it even now? Did you check your preferences? Then he hesitated a bit and added, did you maybe also help check mine too? I didn't say a word. The mood turned awkward instantly. We were still in the silent standoff when Helen walked over. Bruno, they're all picking on me. Come help me. Then, as if just noticing me, she gasped in surprise. Oh, Emma, you're here too? You didn't happen to see my Instagram and follow me here, did you? Don't get the wrong idea. I just love a lively vibe and asked Bruno to come. I've liked this band for ages. And there it was again, that familiar whiff of pretentious coquette energy. I wasn't in the mood to keep up her act. Taking advantage of Bruno getting distracted, I slipped away through the gap. Just as I was about to run, Helen suddenly reached out to stop me. Chapter 5. I'm sorry, Emma. Am I the one making you uncomfortable here? I'll leave if that helps. I just don't want you and Bruno to fight. He's been in such a bad mood lately because of you, and it really breaks my heart. As long as he's happy, I'll do anything. After saying that, her eyes reddened as she bowed deeply toward me. What are you doing? Helen, get up! Bruno shoved me aside and rushed to pull Helen into his arms. Full of concern, Emma, can you stop losing it every time you see Helen? We still have 3 more years of college together. Do you really have to be this petty? I stared at him, finding it all completely ridiculous. You really think that's the kind of distance friends should have? He froze for a moment, then scoffed. What? Can't keep up the act anymore? Weren't you the one who said she was pitiful and asked us to look after her? And now you're jealous? I kept staring at him, and suddenly this face I'd known for over a decade felt completely unfamiliar. If you care about her that much, why not just marry her already? I turned and walked away, completely ignoring Bruno's furious shout behind me. If you walk out that door, don't ever come back. I didn't even flinch. Once I got home and sat down, I saw Helen had just updated her social media. It was a game of truth or dare. She got picked to kiss someone at the party. Helen's gaze swept across the room and landed on Bruno, but he didn't move for a long time. Bruno, you're the one I know best here. Whoa, gorgeous. Are you saying the rest of us are invisible unless we're Bruno? Amid all the teasing and whistling, Helen blushed deep red. She stammered to explain herself, tears welling up in her eyes. Bruno still hadn't moved. If Bruno doesn't want to, I'll take a drink instead. She closed her eyes and reached for her drink. Suddenly, a hand stopped her. You're allergic to alcohol. You wanna die? What else can I do? If I don't complete the dare, I have to accept the punishment. Looking at her like that, Bruno lifted her chin. If not me, you can't pick anyone else? No. Helen, clearly flustered, grabbed the collar of Bruno's shirt and tiptoed to kiss him hesitantly. And this time, Bruno didn't pull away. Instead, he wrapped his arm around her waist and kissed her deeper. Bruno! Damn! That's wild! The room erupted in whistles and cheers. But inside, I felt like my heart had been tossed into a pot of boiling oil. Even though I'd told myself I didn't care about him anymore, seeing that scene still hurt. More than 10 years of emotions, ripping them out was always going to be agony. At 11:50 p.m., a small pebble hit my window. It was the secret signal Bruno and I had always used. For a moment, I wished I had amnesia. I peeked outside and saw him standing there. The same Bruno who had just been all over Helen. He looked up and called out, trying to sound sweet. "Emma, don't be mad, okay? Be good, change your application. Britain's really nice. I'll take you to see Big Ben." Chapter 6. When I went downstairs, I could smell alcohol on Bruno. His words were slurred and sticky, completely different from his usual proud and aloof self. Wouldn't it have been better if he had always been like this? Acting sweet to coax me, falling so in love he'd developed tunnel vision, and loving me so much he'd never let go. Luckily, he didn't. Little tale, the UK's a great place too. If you want to see the Eiffel Tower, we can fly there anytime, it's just a 5-hour flight. You've never really left me. You'd cry if we didn't see each other for a day. I didn't want to make you cry. That's why I wanted you to stay with me. In the version I wrote for myself, I should have coldly slapped him and walked away without looking back. But at that moment, my feet felt glued to the ground, so I took a deep breath and pushed Bruno away. "Stop pretending to be drunk." His eyes flickered with panic, but he still tried to act clueless. "Bruno, you're such a disappointment. Why are you still so cowardly and dishonest?" "It's too late now. Little tale, let's get down to business first." He grabbed my hand and tried to unlock my phone. "Be good. The UK is really great. Once this is over, you can mess with me however you like. I'll listen to you from now on." I froze on the spot. "So you still can't bring yourself to tell me the truth?" "Do I need to? You already know everything. I must be insane. I have to be, to still be wasting my time here." I shoved him hard and knocked him to the ground, and then I let him scream my name behind me as loud as he wanted. "Emma, don't regret this." Still trying to threaten me. Even now, I turned and waved my phone at him. It's 12:01. Bruno's face twisted into a mix of panic and regret, but I walked back upstairs and threw myself into the darkness of my room. One last time to feel this pain for him. But just as the sky was beginning to lighten, my mom pushed the door open. "What happened between you two?" Bruno showed up again first thing this morning. Chapter 7. My mom told me to talk things out calmly, then left to buy groceries, leaving just Bruno and me in the living room. He walked over with breakfast in hand, acting calm and composed, except for his red, puffy eyes and messy face. He looked just like his usual self. "It's your favorite, crab pastry from that one shop. I got up early to line up and buy it. Come on, eat. After that, we're going to school." He rambled on while I stared at him in confusion. "Why would I go to school?" "To withdraw your spot from the university in France." I looked into it. There's still one school in the UK accepting students. It's near the one I applied to. You'll register there. He placed the new application in front of me, casually trying to rewrite my future like it meant nothing. It was a terrible school, far worse than the one I had applied to in France. "Bruno, do you even hear yourself right now?" He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "I know you feel a little wronged, but if you hadn't thrown a fit, we wouldn't even be in this mess. Come on, you're just going abroad to boost your resume. Either way, you'll come back and rely on your family. You'll either marry into some rich family or become a socialite traveling the world." His mouth kept moving, but I felt a buzzing in my ears. All my dreams, all the effort I'd poured in, was it all a joke to him? Bruno had suddenly rotted right in front of me, and I didn't even know if he had always been like this, or if he had decayed in secret. "Bruno, are you seriously insane? What gives you the right to decide my dreams, my future? Who the hell do you think you are?" I slammed everything off the table. My hand shook as I pointed at him and yelled, "What the hell is wrong with you? What did I say that's so wrong? All these years, your parents kept pushing the two of us together, and you clung to me like crazy. Isn't it all because you want me to marry you? What are you pretending for now? No matter where you go, it's all just to impress me, to be good enough for me." Smack. I couldn't hold back. I slapped him across the face. Hard. My fingers were still trembling when I realized what I'd done. "Get out." I said, "Get the hell out." "Fine, but don't come crying to me when you're in the UK. so stupid and hot-headed, and begging me to help you. I was shaking with anger. His face was black with rage. We were locked in a standoff until the door suddenly opened. Bruno, you left your clothes at my place. Chapter 8. The bag had a torn corner. Anyone with eyes could see it. It held Bruno's underwear. Helen didn't even bother pretending anymore. She playfully punched Bruno's arm. Humph. You're so dumb. Now I'm all sore thanks to you. I frowned. Get out. I had zero interest in being a background prop in their little roleplay session. Last night, I had actually believed Bruno had waited downstairs for me all night. Turns out, he'd spent the night tangled up in silk sheets with her. Thank God I didn't let myself get soft again. I don't even want to imagine what would have happened if I'd gone full romantic idiot mode and actually changed my application for him. These two lunatics would have chewed me up and spit me out. I'd probably become the British version of Meng Jiaonu, crying my heart out across the ocean for a man who never deserved it. Helen came over again, looking all pitiful like I was the one bullying her. Just as she opened her mouth, I shoved them both out the door. If you want to put on a drama, go find your own stage. Don't pollute my living room. I slumped onto the couch, still feeling this knot of irritation in my chest that just wouldn't go away. Right then, Luis invited me out. I checked in with my bestie, who said she wanted to go too, and just like that, the three of us booked a trip to Yunnan. Beautiful mountains, fresh air, stunning scenery. That very afternoon, I was already digging into grilled cheese crisps, mint pork ribs, hot pot rice noodles. Eating and sightseeing, I was too happy to even remember Bruno. Later that night, when I started to feel a bit emo, Luis said there was a bonfire party outside. My bestie and I danced around the flames like kids, spinning and laughing until we could barely stand. It was 3 a.m. when we finally made it back to our room. My bestie picked up her phone and blinked. Whoa, over 100 missed calls. My mom's gonna skin me alive. But then she shoved the phone into my hand. Bruno. It's all from him. All those missed calls, over 100 of them, were from Bruno. I stared at the screen, itching to block him, but in the end, I answered. What is it? Emma, where did you go? We haven't seen each other all day. I casually twirled a strand of hair and replied. Yunnan. Don't joke like that. Come on, get out here. We were supposed to go out together. Says who? Anyone around him right now just annoys me. He kept begging me to come out until my mom opened the door and, confused, told him, Emma went to Yunnan with her best friend. Didn't she tell you? Only then did he finally believe it, and through gritted teeth, he said, well played. Chapter 9. Duh, of course I'm well played. I've got the looks, the brains, the personality, the family background. I'm top tier across the board. Honestly, I think I might have what it takes to be an empress. I whispered this to myself in front of the mirror and practically felt golden rays bursting off my body. Luis had already planned the entire trip, and with my bestie in tow, we went full vacation mode. Sunshine, beaches, seagulls. Luis carried his camera around, turning me and my bestie into full-blown influencers. Meanwhile, Helen was also on a posting spree, 8 Instagram stories a day, each one a full collage grid. Bruno was in every single one. Like a designer handbag she couldn't stop flashing, always front and center. Like a status symbol. I stared at the photos, my mind a little hazy. It didn't really feel like heartbreak. It just felt like a shame. While studying for the exams, all I could think about was how great it'd be to travel here with Bruno. Now that it's over, Bruno came, but with someone else. But it's fine. I can absolutely shine on my own. I repeated that to myself internally. Then my bestie went wild, suddenly obsessed with playing matchmaker between me and Luis. Put this on. No one wears a red dress better than you. Your Majesty. Not only are you brilliant, you're drop-dead gorgeous too. She fussed over me, tossing clothes around until she got me into a crimson dress. The moment I saw myself in the mirror, I was stunned. So beautiful. Obviously, you're my best friend. Gorgeous is the minimum requirement. She whipped out her phone and took 10 mirror selfies on the spot, no filters, no edits, and posted them straight to her feed. The likes rolled in instantly. OMG. Goddess alert. I'm your long-lost wife. Remember me? Babe, listen. I've never kissed anyone in my life. Mind fixing that? P.S. I'm also a girl. Damn, already a stunner on a normal day. But with a little glam? You're a full-on supermodel. More posts please. I couldn't help laughing as I read the comments. I'm usually too busy for this. So putting real effort into dressing up like this, it really was a first. Luis saw me and completely froze. You look amazing. You're getting a nosebleed. I panicked and handed him a tissue. While his face turned tomato red, my bestie turned into a monkey from Mountame, bouncing around. Oh, someone's in Louvre. Quit it. I tried to catch her, but she jumped away again, waving her phone. I'm gonna roast that pretentious coquette to death. Helen had left a comment under my post. Wow, Emma. Your makeup skills are amazing. You look like a completely different person. I could never figure out how to do makeup properly like that. I frowned, just about to clap back, when I saw Luis had already replied. Don't reach for the moon if you're a pebble. Makeup can enhance beauty, not resurrect the dead. I turned to look at the guy people always called cold and untouchable. He awkwardly turned his face away. You clap back well, thanks. No problem. And just like that, he blushed again. Cute little drama aside, our trip was coming to an end. Chapter 10. We returned home with arms full of shopping bags, souvenirs from the trip, but right at the door, we ran into Bruno and his group. When he saw me, a hint of obsession flashed across his face. You look beautiful like this. It had only been a week, but Bruno already looked worn down. The dark circles under his eyes were impossible to hide. You dragged me back. I frowned, unsure what he was trying to pull, but he instinctively reached out and grabbed my arm. The moment his hand touched mine, he couldn't help but smile. Emma, stop being mad, okay? I brought you a souvenir. Look, it's your favorite. Before he could finish, Luis stepped forward and pushed him aside. She doesn't want you touching her. Didn't you notice? Bruno froze for a second, then immediately grabbed Luis by the collar. He's right. I don't want you touching me. You're taking his side? Bruno looked stunned, like a husband catching his wife cheating. Yes. Emma, what about me? His voice was full of hurt, but I just calmly turned and walked away. He used to be someone I had written into my future. Now he's just a name in the margins I've crossed out without hesitation. I knew, with complete certainty, that I was cutting all ties with him. Even my mom had picked up on the tension between us. But after I explained everything to her, she got angry too and totally supported me. But Bruno's mother came to my house and cornered me at the door. Emma, you've been busy lately? Did Bruno upset you? Auntie will scold him for you. But, that said, little fights can spice up a relationship. Push it too far, and it's easy to do lasting damage. Hard to walk it back. Bruno's been in a terrible mood lately because of you. He's lost weight. No matter what happened, in the end, you two should make up. What's the big deal about who apologizes first? At first, I'd planned to be polite out of respect for an elder. But now, I just wanted to laugh coldly. Auntie, Bruno and I are done. I've made that very clear to him. You don't need to throw veiled shade at me. The moment I said that, her expression soured. Bruno stepped out from the shadows, fists clenched tight. Emma, you're out of line. Talking to my mom like that? If we're done, then we're done. Even if you come back crying, I won't go soft on you. He stormed off with his mother in tow. Oh, and when you get bullied in France, don't come crying to me. Chapter 11. Bruno was full of bravado when he made his threats, but on several nights, I woke up to find him standing under my apartment window. Still, I had no interest in decoding his emotional turmoil, so I called the police and reported a peeping Tom. Studying abroad alone is definitely challenging, but also a lot of fun. Once I settled things like housing and basic errands, I could finally focus on classes. Backpack on my shoulders and all, Luis turned out to be a walking Swiss Army knife. Every problem I had became so easy in front of him. We got close fast. He helped me with day-to-day stuff, and I helped him tackle our group projects. Life was good. I was genuinely happy. Until one day, I got a call from Helen. Emma, do you even have a heart? Is it fun watching Bruno suffer from the shadows? He's sick from worrying about you. I blinked, totally confused, and asked sincerely, since when is France considered the shadows of the UK? Don't tell me, after all this time, They're still clinging to the fantasy that I'd give up everything and follow them to the UK? God. I wish I had even a fraction of Bruno's confidence. I was just about to hang up when Bruno's voice suddenly came through. Emma, come back. We've been apart too long. You need me. Without me, you'll break down. Your separation anxiety. Bruno. Stop lying to yourself. The one with separation anxiety is you. You're the one who can't let go of me. Silence. For a long time. Then finally, he whispered, no, that's not true. Then why is it that during our time apart, you can't sleep? You've lost weight. Your moods are all over the place, and you're mentally unraveling, while I've been getting better and happier every day. Still, he kept insisting, no, no. It's you who can't live without me. Emma, I was wrong. Come back to me. Helen isn't like you. She doesn't have a safety net. She has no family to rely on. But you, no matter what school you attend, your future is secured. So there's no reason for you to make things harder for yourself just to go against her. Come to the UK. Emma, please. By the end, his voice was practically begging. I didn't want to continue this meaningless conversation. Right then, Luis called out to me, Emma, group discussions starting, come on. I hung up in a rush, but that same night, Bruno showed up in front of me. Chapter 12. Bruno looked haggard, his face unshaven, bloodshot eyes, fingers twitching restlessly. Emma, he couldn't help but pull me into a tight hug, sighing as if finally at peace. For a second, I froze. Back then, when I had gone to another city to see him, he'd held me like this too, clinging to me, acting all sweet. When we graduate, let's get married. I'll keep you by my side every day. You'll never be able to leave me again. I pushed him away, but he grabbed my hand. Why are you so stubborn now? It wouldn't even affect you that much. You used to compromise for me. His murmurs turned obsessive, borderline manic. Is it because of Luis? Bruno, I love design. I told you when I was 3, I wanted to become a designer. All those years of hard work weren't to make myself into some trophy wife, they were for passion. Do you understand that? His eyes dodged mine. I didn't know. You never said that. Really? I practically wanted to tattoo I want to be a designer on my forehead. It's not that I didn't say it, it's that Bruno never cared. To him, I was just a talking doll, a grown-up version of his little Abibi, familiar, convenient, and easy to dismiss. Bruno, I don't owe you anything, so stop chasing me. When I met you, I was happy. When I loved you, I was happy. So now that I've let go, let me keep being happy. Can you do that? Bruno froze. He tried desperately to hold on to me, but only caught the corner of my sleeve. Then, suddenly, he started chasing after me. Emma, you're right. I'm the one with separation anxiety. I'm the one who can't let go. Please, just give me another chance. But I had already given him one. He was the one who wasted it. Bruno took a leave from school. He stayed in France. Every day when I went to class, he was there, silently following, until one day, I stopped and faced him. Sorry, my boyfriend really minds you being around. Luis? No, me. Luis confidently wrapped his arm around my waist. Close and natural. Bruno lowered his head, flustered. Then, what about me? What do I do? What about my anxiety? His eyes brimmed with tears, staring straight at me. Haven't you already figured it out? Just turn around. Bruno turned, his face instantly went pale, because Helen was standing right there. The amount of time he'd spent chasing me was equal to the time Helen had spent chasing him. Go back to Helen's bed like before. That should help you forget your anxiety for a while. Helen, dressed in red, sweetly held his hand, but all Bruno felt was disgust. He shoved her away. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The first time had been a mistake. He'd been waiting outside my house when Helen called, crying that her power had gone out and she was scared. He rushed over, fixed her fuse box, and then she drugged him. That dizzy, hazy night let him forget his troubles. The next morning, he wanted to leave, but Helen cried, and he ran away. Later, he tried to use her to forget me, but the more he tried, the clearer my face became, until one day, when he looked down, Helen's face had turned into mine. Don't say disgusting things to me. I cut him off coldly. Call it what it was, lust. Don't act like you're some poor victim. If she drugged you, then what about that kiss at the karaoke bar? All the color drained from Bruno's face, his pathetic self exposed. Helen clung to his hand, unwilling to let go. After all, she was already tied to him. I didn't want anything to do with either of them anymore. But Bruno kept secretly watching me. The year I graduated and returned home, I heard the news. Helen and Bruno had another big fight. She injured him, and his family had her locked up. He was abandoned by the family as well. I just shook my head and continued working on my design draft. Luis quietly wiped down our wedding rings and slipped his back on before saying calmly, "Serves him right." I couldn't help but smile. To me, Bruno belonged to a past life. All that mattered now was the pen in my hand and the future I would draw for myself.